with me if you want to listen.
Are you not entertained? Is that why you are here?
Zip, don't get scared.
Welcome back to a brand new Flick Pick live show where I talk about the movie topics I give a shit about, and then we talk about whatever you want to talk about. So get your questions in, your movie topics, whatever you want to talk about. Just get that in down below and we will get to it. But first and foremost, how are you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining me for another Flick Pick live show. And with all of that said, you got to start it off with a party popper. And now my ears are ringing. But with all of that, I want you guys to know I live in Indiana, the desolate wastelands of Midwest America. And today we had something called a snowstorm. So outside of my house, there's like 3 feet of snow, and it even gets higher than that with the snow drifts. So at some point tomorrow, I'm just going to have to floor my car in reverse and get out of the driveway somehow. And also, the best way to describe the way that my neighborhood looks like right now, it looks like the Antarctica setting in The Thing. That's the best way to describe it. Yeah, we'll go with that. But with all that said, today we have a loaded live show. We have a lot to talk about, maybe too much to talk about. We're going to dive into some movie reviews, my thoughts, my feelings about 28 years later, Bone Temple. Then we're going to talk all about a movie that I'm probably safely going to say you should never watch, ever. Like, if this movie was in the $5 Walmart bin back in 2005, I would say it's overpriced and it doesn't even deserve to be there. We're going to talk about the brand new Amazon Prime movie, which should have just been shit out on Amazon Prime because it feels like the definition of a streaming movie you should watch in your underwear as you scroll on your phone and it plays in the background because nothing that happens in the movie matters. But we're going to talk about the brand new movie Mercy. Okay. And then we're going to talk about a movie that I have some really good things to say about is the brand new movie Send Help, which I did see an early screening of the movie. And then, if you guys want to, we can talk about that first look, that first live action look that we got at Lobo, played by Jason Momoa in the upcoming Supergirl movie, which I have some thoughts and feelings about. But with all that said, check out my t-shirt. Look at this bad boy. I'm repping Sydney Sweeney on my shirt today. Now, let me first say this. This was free, okay? I got this at the movie theater. They had a stack of like 500 t-shirts they were giving away for promotional purposes, and I took a couple of them. I will say that. Why not? So I like it. Actually, I like the way it lays. It feels good, and Sydney Sweeney's laying right on my pecs. Let's watch her dance. Okay, I need to hit the gym again. I used to be able to make those pec muscles dance up and down. Anyway, what do you guys say? We just dive into the questions. And by the way, thank you guys so much for joining me. It's nice to see all of you guys here today. What's up, John? Hope all's well. Dad, you're back. Yes, I came back from the liquor store or the gas station. I said I was going to get milk and a pack of cigarettes, and I'm back 20 years later. Okay, I'm hyped as well. So, once again, get those questions in down below. But first, let's talk about the topics in the movie news and the things I care about when it comes to cinema. And the first thing we have to talk about is a movie that I watched, I think a couple weeks ago at this point, is 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Now, when it comes to this movie, I said this on X after I initially watched it. I said, 28 years later, The Bone Temple doubles down on the weird, questionable stuff from the first one. I loved where it went. It leans into a new post-apocalyptic culture and how fucked up and misguided people become. Gave me Mad Max vibes at times. Ralph Fiennes stole the entire movie. And I stand by that. For me, when it comes to 28 years later, which came out just last year, I liked it. It did some cool stuff I rather enjoyed, but overall, it wasn't quite what I was expecting, and I didn't think it lent itself to being all that rewatchable. But I will say this, keep in mind, at the time that I saw that movie, I didn't know that they were making a part 2 and a potential part 3 of this trilogy. So really, when it comes to 28 years later, it's sort of like getting the first act of a movie. And the first act of a movie is good, but you don't get a lot of payoff, right? That's what Act 2 and Act 3 does. So when it comes to 28 years later, it's sort of just like, here's the setup for all this cool shit that might happen, but we're not going to show you any of that cool shit just yet. So that's why I don't think 28 years later is probably going to be my favorite of this trilogy. But I will say, 28 years later, The Bone Temple, it gave me a bone temple. I rather enjoyed this movie. It's a little weird and crazy and kooky, but like I said in that tweet, it really does give you that payoff for all that weird, questionable stuff the first movie set up. Now, when you go back in time to the original 28 days later, and then we got 28 months later, I like those movies quite a bit. Now, do I necessarily love them and put them on my top 10 of all time? No, but I love me a good zombie movie, and especially that first movie, how simplistic it was, and the way that they shot the movie, it just looks grainy and gritty because it was shot on early digital DV tapes that just look like shit. And they still look like shit, but I think that digitized graininess of that first movie that we got 20 years ago, I feel like it almost adds a little flavor to it. It makes it look more raw and gritty and visceral. So with all of that said, this new sequel, this direct sequel to 28 Years Later, was directed not by Danny Boyle, but by Nia DaCosta. Now, if you don't know who that is, she directed such classics as The Marvels. And everything I just said to you was a blatant lie. Please forgive my sins. But when it comes to The Marvels, I think that is by far and away the worst MCU movie ever made. That feels like a movie that should have been crapped out on the Disney Channel in 1996 and a budget of $7 and a pack of bubble gum. It was not a very good movie. And I was actually surprised that she directed this film and had the ability to direct a movie that was this gritty and raw and visceral that I enjoyed. And I will say, it's kind of almost like the contrast of her directing The Marvels and then directing something like 28 years later, The Bone Temple. It's like night and day. It really is. But I liked this movie. And once again, I liked it much more than the Danny Boyle 28 Years Later. I just think this one was more fun. I liked that after the events of the first movie, where you had the Power Rangers crew, or the Teletubby kids, all grown up as I like to call them, we expand on that in this new movie. And I kind of was assuming at the end of the first film that they were going to be like a group of like good guys, like out to save the day, sort of like the Teletubby crew, the Avengers of the post-apocalyptic wasteland, like kids who grow up watching, shows like Teletubbies. Like, I thought they were going to go a completely radically different direction with that group, but no. They're basically led by Sir Jimmy, who is more or less a brutal sociopath who leads this small cult-like group of people who follow him, and he scares them and controls them and manipulates them with like his version of this religious cult-like demeanor that he imposes upon them. And I thought that was interesting. I did like me some Sir Jimmy quite a bit. I love a good sociopathic character. So that was one aspect I quite enjoyed about the film. And we're going to talk about some of the other stuff I loved. But when you dive into the culture of this new 28 Years Later flick, they're definitely like solidifying this like weird cultural, tribal-like thing that's happening in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. And, if you look at psychology, that's what typically happens with human beings. Keep in mind, this has been going on for 20 plus years. So these are the people who grew up in this zombie apocalypse. This is all they know. They don't know what normalcy is. And if you give it enough time in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, people get crazy. They get kooky. They're not going to be like the normal society. They're just going to live in another dimension, basically. And it's sort of like Mad Max in a way. When you watch Mad Max, you think, okay, this is kind of crazy and zany and this would never happen. You'd never see a dude in assless chaps wearing a hockey mask covered in baby oil saying, "Leave the fuel and I will spare your lives." But you give it 20 years of living in that shit, and you just might. And I will be that guy in that hockey mask with those assless chaps on, demanding that you give me your fuel or I'm going to take your life. Okay? I don't believe in violence unless it's necessary. Okay? But violence plus baby oil, I do believe in. But anyway, I kind of like that they're delving a little deeper into that. And I think if they keep going with the 28 years later franchise, I think the opportunities are endless. The spin-offs, the different directions you can go. Or maybe they cure this disease in the next movie and they just call it a day. You know, I don't know. But I liked that. I kind of like how zany and kooky and weird it's getting. It's not just some other zombie movie. Like, people are getting more comfortable in this apocalypse. Like, if you look at Sir Jimmy and his gang of crazy lunatics that follow him, they're not really afraid of the zombies because the zombies at this point are sort of like, it's normalcy to them. Like, yeah, they're sort of a threat, but you just, decapitate them and you push them over and it's done. So they're not afraid of them like we would be initially if we saw some crazy lunatic running at us like they had rabies. Trust me, I've been there, I've done it. So I liked that. I also liked with Sir Jimmy that religious symbolism that the movie was sort of showcasing, like good versus evil. Do you blindly follow someone as a leader? I liked that symbolism. I thought that was really, really well done. But I'll tell you about my favorite aspect of the Bone Temple. And no, it's not the giant alpha male zombie with the 12 inches of man meat dangling as he chases you down. No. It's not that, though we will get there. I thought Ralph Fiennes in this film, who plays Dr. Kelson, you did get the setup of his character in the first installment, but man, they do give you way more backstory in his character, and he is the title character in this film. It's all about him. He is the main focus point. And I love me some Ralph Fiennes. I mean, he has this nuance about him where he's clever, he's intelligent, but he also has a slight unhinged aspect about him, but he's still a good guy. And he is basically looking for a cure to reversing the effects of the infected or the zombies in this film. And there's an entire subplot revolving around him and Samson, the alpha male zombie that you saw in the first film, the big troglodyte Neanderthal zombie who's 7 foot tall with, a giant horse cock chasing you down. And I liked that subplot quite a bit. And once again, all that weird stuff in that first part really does pay off and gets answered in the second part. And I liked it. It gave me sort of the answers I was looking for and hoping for. So I quite enjoyed Ralph Fiennes' character as Dr. Kelson in this film. And I will just leave it off with this when talking about his character. And keep in mind, he's some crazy dude who really does... His ideology in these films are really interesting because he sort of wants to reshape mortality, and that's why he makes the Bone Temple. That is his reason for living and surviving. You got to have purpose, right? Without it, what's the point? But I like that he covers himself in iodine and he looks red like old Nick, Satan himself. And there's an entire plot revolving around that. But there is one scene in this film towards the third act where they're playing Iron Maiden, The Mark of the Beast. And it's one of those scenes that when I talk about mediocre movies and forgettable movies that lack memorable scenes, this is one of those scenes that will make me remember this movie for the next 20 years. It's one of those scenes where when you watch it, you just watch it with a smile on your face and you're like, I love how fucked up and visceral and crazy this is. And I love the theatricality and how they're just going for it and they're not holding back. And it's just a lot of fun to watch. And it makes sense for the story. But this scene that Ralph Fiennes gives is just a thing of perfection. He plays the devil himself, and I will just leave it there. But in the best way possible. And also, when you watch things like that with all that symbolism, it makes you question, well, is the devil himself actually that bad of a guy? Or maybe he was trying to spread the truth, and someone just labeled him as a bad guy. Maybe there's more symbolism. Maybe I'm reaching too far. I couldn't quite tell you. But for me, that was the standout moment in this film. So here are my final flicking thoughts on 28 years later, The Bone Temple. I think this is better than the first part. I think this film will lend itself to more rewatchability. You know, yeah, the first film gives you all the build up, absolutely, but I just enjoyed just getting those big bursts of payoff. And also, if you want gruesome, over-the-top shit where people are just dismantling each other, guts and gore and knife fights and getting stabbed in the jugular, this gives you all those great scenes. And also the story does continue following the little runaway kid from his island, Spike, who always just has the biggest puppy dog eyes when the camera zooms into his face. He's just so innocent, doesn't know anything. I think it's great. So I can't wait to see part 3. I can't wait to see how this trilogy pays off. And with all that said, I do have some quick spoilers when it comes to the ending, the after credit scene in this film. And it did come out 2 weeks ago. So when it comes to movies on the internet, 2 weeks is like 2 years. So if you haven't seen it yet, shame on you. But put your earmuffs on for about the next 15 seconds if you haven't seen it. 3, 2, 1. The after credit scene with Cillian Murphy, we finally catch up with the main title character of the first film, and he's living his life in a nice little cabin. He has a daughter, and all of a sudden he hears some screams. He walks outside, and sure enough, you see the characters from this film running away from some zombies. So they're going to meet up and then continue on with the story. So I like all of that. All right, so spoilers are over. You can take your earmuffs off now. If I had to give this movie a grade, I think I'd give it like a B+. I'd give it a nice B+. I think that's a fair grade for The Bone Temple. Definitely recommend it. Check it out. All right, what do you guys think about The Bone Temple? Let me know down below. Let's read some of your comments, your questions. Matthew Casper says, trailer reaction for Masters of the Universe. We can watch that a little bit later. Just remind me. We can dive into it. Medart Mike 03 says, hey John, what did you think about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein? I liked it. I didn't love it. I thought the first act was kind of boring. The second act, once his point of view came into play, it got immensely better. There's some aspects about it that feel like a Netflix movie, and there's other things I quite enjoyed. I just was hoping it'd have a little more grit to it. I guess it just looked very digital. That's like my one visual complaint from Guillermo del Toro directing that. I was hoping it'd look a little grittier, but I'm sure in some kind of agreement, Netflix said, hey, we have to make this look like it was very digital. You have to reiterate the plot 17 times. Every plot point should be on the nose so people comprehend what they're watching. And I'm sure those are caveats when you get funded by Netflix. Or at least according to Matt Damon, they are. It's funny because production of the Marvels made Nia want to go back to horror movies. Good, absolutely. Yeah, and that's where she should stay. Much better film. And it's so crazy that a movie like The Bone Temple, which I don't know how much it costs off the top of my head. I would imagine it costs like $60 to $80 million, more or less. But then you compare it to something like the Marvels that probably cost $190 million, and it just looks like it was shot on a green screen in someone's backyard. John, have you noticed the color grading is so gray and dark in modern TV shows compared to the 2000s, 2010s? Which had bright and vibrant color grading. Absolutely. I have known that, and I have noticed that, and I agree with you. And we'll talk all about that. We're going to talk about some color grading when it comes to the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow trailer. Okay, so let's talk about the next main topic. And the next main topic I want to talk about is the brand new movie, Mercy, starring Chris Pratt, which is an Amazon original Prime movie, which it feels like a director-streaming movie, but for some odd reason they decided to crap it out into cinemas, and for some odd reason I had nothing better to do this last Thursday night, so I went there and watched it. Now, when it comes to this movie, I didn't have high hopes, high expectations. It's basically about a detective who's accused of murdering his wife, and he goes on trial. But in the future, the way that people who are basically presumed guilty, the version of trials that they have are a 90-minute trial, and the judge is AI. Okay, all right, I can work with that. That sounds sort of like a mediocre concept that you would see in one of the not so great episodes of a Black Mirror episode. Okay, but nevertheless, I'm sort of intrigued by it. And for the first, I would say 20 minutes of Mercy, I didn't hate it. It wasn't like the Ice Cube War of the Worlds bad. The world's in it. You better watch your ass. You know, it wasn't like that atrociously offensive to me, though it does have the same producer, and it is directed by the guy who directed Wanted from like 2008. That's like the best movie he's directed. And I'm sure Mercy costs like 60, 70, 80 million dollars, right? And this is also the latest Amazon Prime movie starring Chris Pratt, because I think he signed like a multi-picture deal with Amazon Prime to star in a whole bunch of mediocre movies that typically you would find in the $5 Walmart bin back in 2006. But now these are $60 million plus movies, and they're being released in cinemas. A movie like Mercy back in 2005 or 10, movies like this wouldn't go to the cinema. No, they wouldn't go there. They would go straight to DVD, and then they'd go in the $5 Walmart bin, and maybe, just maybe, on a cold, rainy day, you'd pluck it out of there and go, what's this big pile of shit? I know it doesn't look that good, but I'll buy it for $5. And then you go to the frozen pizza aisle, you buy a Tombstone pizza, and then you buy a Mountain Dew, and then you go home and you have yourself a great Tuesday night, okay? That's the type of movie Mercy is. It should not be in cinemas, nor does it deserve to be in cinemas. But anyway, the first act of this movie, the first like 25 minutes or so, I'm like, okay, this is sort of interesting. Like, they could go a lot of different directions with this. And then for like a split second, it sort of reminded me of the movie Demolition Man, starring Sylvester Stallone from 1993, where he's accused of a crime that he didn't commit, and he's cryogenically frozen, and he wakes up in the future. All I'm saying is, like, had they just remade that, I think that would have been an immensely better movie. And then Taco Bell's the only remaining fast food restaurant, but it's not even considered a fast food restaurant in the future. It's like a classy place to eat. Who knows? It could happen. But anyway, my point is, I didn't hate those first like 25 minutes. But as the plot continued on, and he's looking for these clues and trying to figure out what happened. And thank God, you know, in this Mercy death chamber where you have 90 minutes to prove your innocence, thank God the guy on trial is a detective, because if this was just an everyday guy, there's no way like he would get out of this situation. There's absolutely no way. But the burden of proof has to drop below 92% for him to be released from this AI death chamber, basically. And there's a point in the movie where you think, wow, the burden of proof has definitely dropped below that, but for the sake of plot convenience, nothing happens. It's just like, yeah, maybe that person did it. I don't know. Call me crazy. I'm just putting it out there. He looks pretty guilty. But no. For the plot of the movie, it continues on for another 45 minutes. And the further this movie goes, and the longer the runtime keeps happening, you want to pull your hair out how bad it gets. Because had they just left this at an AI simple concept film where you have a guy strapped down into a chair for 90 minutes, and for some odd reason they shot the movie in 3D. I don't know about you, but when I think of an epic 3D experience, it's Chris Pratt sitting in a chair for 90 minutes. Or it's not, right? It shouldn't be. That's not what should be in 3D. But anyway, this movie was, which is just laughable. But as the movie continues on, there's this entire subplot about terrorism and revenge, and the revenge story aspect of it all is the most convoluted, forced shit that I've ever seen in a movie theater. And by the end of this film, it became laughably bad. It went from this like thriller whodunit to this C-rate action movie that was just laughable. And it definitely makes sense to be released in January. Like, this is like, when I close my eyes and think about it, this is, yeah, Mercy is the definition of a shitty January movie, and I guess that's where it belongs. So Mercy is not a very good movie. I don't recommend you ever watch it. It's atrociously bad, and it gets worse by the second. And when it comes to movies like this about AI, they feel like they're generated by AI. Like, I guarantee you, if you go into the screenwriter who wrote this film, and if you could dive deep enough, he fucking used ChatGPT to write this movie. I'm just putting it out there. And if he didn't, then maybe he should have. But I will add this to it. A couple little nitpicks, not even nitpicks, just things I noticed about how stupid this movie was. Rebecca Ferguson plays the AI judge. And, and throughout the film, the AI presentation of the judge in front of Chris Pratt, it keeps glitching. Like, she glitches out multiple times, and then she comes back online and she's like, okay, any other burdens of proof you want to present? Like, things like that. And you just have to ask yourself, wait. So this is like, we're using AI to prove if people are guilty or innocent of murdering people. Okay, fine. I can work with that. But if this shit is glitching out every 5 minutes, maybe we just don't use this anymore. Like, what? Like, what are we doing? It's glitching out. You can see it. But we're following through with it. Okay. I thought it was terrible. I would give the movie an F, but I think that's almost too good for it. And thank God in this film, there's a camera everywhere a camera needs to be. Because if there wasn't a camera in the next door neighbor's birdhouse, well, you know what? People would just get executed, you know? Sorry, you didn't have a camera up your ass, or else we would have saw what really happened. But because we didn't see it, well, you're guilty. Like, what is happening? And why 90 minutes? Why not 2 hours? Why not 3 hours? And by the way, throughout the film, it's like Chris Pratt's character has the entire LAPD at his beck and call. If he needs SWAT teams or helicopters to go anywhere, they just show up. Like, what? Like, does everyone else get this same privilege? Or if I got accused of robbing a liquor store, do I still get a SWAT team at my beck and call to go solve these mysteries across town? Or no? Or maybe if we don't make it just 90 minutes and we make it, I don't know, 2.5 hours, maybe we don't have to rush around so much. Call me crazy. And also, you know what? I could keep going and going with how stupid the plot is and how none of it makes sense and it's all very convenient. But I think I'll just leave it there. Mercy's not a very good movie, and I think it's by far the worst January movie I've seen in a very long time. But then again, sometimes you need shitty movies like that to cleanse your palate. So Mercy sucked. It sucked really, really hard. Don't ever watch it, but leave your thoughts, your opinions down below about it. Let me know what you thought. Mercy sounds exactly like Matt Damon was talking about background noise while scrolling on your phone and cleaning your house. That's what it is. That's what cinema is becoming. And isn't that sad? Like cinema should never be background noise. Like a podcast can be background noise. Like a TV show that came out 20 years ago can be background noise. I'm talking to you, The Office. Because if my wife wants to take a nap in the afternoon, guess what's on? The Office. You fall to sleep to Steve Carell acting like an autistic grown man child in a paper, an office that sells paper, and you go to sleep. It's beautiful. You wake up to Dwight Schrute, and it's a beautiful thing. Okay, let's go to the next topic here. Let's talk about. I want to talk about a good January movie because there are very few and far between. But I will say, outside of 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, Send Help, which I just watched yesterday, might just be one of the better January movies I've seen in a very, very long time. Now, this is directed by Sam Raimi. It stars Rachel McAdams. And the basic synopsis to Send Help is there's a plane crash involving two co-workers, and they get stranded on a deserted island, and they're forced to work together and put past grievances aside. And there's some other crazy, zany shit that happens along the way. Now, I like me some Rachel McAdams, and I thought she was great in this movie. Now, she sort of plays like this dual character. She's sort of like this smart, socially awkward, bumbling office lady. And then she kind of plays this survivalist role because she's a lady who has watched Survivor her entire life and wanted to be on the show. So she's very capable. But there's also some very dark twists and turns. It also stars Dylan O'Brien, who plays her boss. He's basically this pretentious douchebag type character. But when it comes to the tone of this movie, the best way I can describe it is it reminded me of the 1990 movie directed by Rob Reiner, which was based on a Stephen King novel called Misery. Now, if you've never seen Misery, I definitely recommend checking it out. But it felt like Misery, but on an island with way more dark comedy injected into it. And I like all of those things. The dark comedy in this movie is top notch. It pushes the limits, and it has this like certain level of self-awareness, which I appreciated. But also when you add on the fact that Sam Raimi directed this movie, which I think he added sort of this artistic flair to the movie. I think if any other director had tackled this, it would have been sort of just like a substandard movie. But the way Raimi sort of did some of the shots, especially when it comes to like, Sam Raimi's great when it comes to like a horror movie that injects comedy. He knows how to blend both of those things. Like, it's horrific, it's grotesque. There's a lot of gross out moments in this movie with like people like getting ripped open or puking on each other's faces. You get all that beautiful stuff happening. And yes, I did just describe puking on someone's face as beautiful because Sam Raimi is a master craftsman and only he can do such things. But they inject all that crazy shit into this movie and then it just cuts away from it almost like an episode of Family Guy after Peter gets in a fight with the giant chicken and it goes on for 5 minutes and they fall off the top of a bridge and things explode and they're on fire. And then it just cuts back to normalcy. And I thought that was brilliant. And the way Raimi directed some of like the violent scenes that go back and forth, which there are a few that really stood out. The way he directed it, I thought it elevated the movie and really made it stand out and it made it feel like a real movie. I'm like, oh, this is what movies can and should feel like, just not standardized made for Netflix movies. So definitely recommend checking out Send Help. It does have some twists and turns. And if you want to see like craziness and dark comedy, I think this will be like a pleasant theater going experience for you. I had a good time with it. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give Send Help like a solid B. I'd give it a solid B. I would definitely check it out again one day, and maybe in a couple years down the road. So those are my final flicking thoughts on the movie. And I think Raimi's directing style gave the movie a pulse and elevated it. So I'd recommend checking it out. I will definitely check out Misery. Yeah, if you've never seen Misery, that is my movie recommendation to you. Starring Kathy Bates, there's a scene in Misery involving a sledgehammer, and I will just leave it there. It's brilliant. Directed by the late Rob Reiner. Side note to self, don't have crazy kids. Okay. Now, for our last movie topic, before we dive into your questions, and once again, if you guys have any topics, questions, get that in right now. We will get to every single one of those momentarily. But first, let me take a sip of this delicious caffeinated beverage. It's sour gummy worm. And it does taste just like sour gummy worms, yes. Oh, the one thing I wanted to add about the movie Send Help was, this movie does use some practical effects, but it also has a lot of CG. For example, there's a plane crash in the movie. But when it comes to comedy movies and CG and effects, I almost feel like you should intentionally not make them great. And I feel like that's what they were doing with this movie. Like, there's a plane crash scene, and I swear the plane, like, did this at one point. It looked like a cartoon plane going up and down. And I think that was done for comedic effect, or at least I hope it was. Also, there's another scene on the island involving a giant warthog. And I enjoyed that quite a bit. There's a lot of blood when it comes to this sequence, but yeah, it was rather enjoyable. But the CG was a bit questionable at times, but in the best way possible. It added to that comedic effect. Because if it was too realistic, it's no longer funny. That's just my take on it. All right. Let's go to the next topic here. And the last topic I want to talk about is we got our first look at Jason Momoa as Lobo in the upcoming Supergirl movie. Now, when it comes to this Supergirl trailer, I'm not going to show too much of it because last time I did, Warner Brothers sent me a copyright claim, which I then had to dispute. It took 30 days. Then they rejected it. Then I had to redispute it with a legal notice in there. And then they removed it. So clearly they got it wrong, but hey, they want every single shekel they can get. All right. So anyway, when it comes to the Supergirl movie, I'll watch it. Am I really looking forward to this movie? Is it one of my most anticipated movies of next summer? Absolutely not. It's really not. I will check it out. But the one thing I'm noting about the Supergirl movie is it just looks blah. Like, look at the color grading of the movie. I call this color grading baby shit brown. It just looks like poop. The color grading poop. Where's the fun, fantastical colors and the vibrancy of it all? It's just dull poop. But it gets really poopy looking, and it almost looks like a piss filter is what we'll call it when you see Jason Momoa right here as Lobo. There he is, folks. Let's take a look at that right there. Now, I'm not going to hate on it too much. Like, I grew up in the 90s, and I would occasionally come across like a Lobo comic book every once in a while. I know he's like an intergalactic bounty hunter. I read maybe a couple of the comics. I always thought he was a cool character. And I definitely think Jason Momoa will most likely make a much better Lobo than he did Aquaman, which I thought that was like a try-hard casting choice from Zack Snyder. Let's make Aquaman all edgy and cool. He's not some blonde pretty boy wearing green spandex tights. No. He's just Jason Momoa. And I'm sorry, that just never worked for me. But Lobo, yeah, that feels like a role he was made to play. But some of my critiques and criticisms, and I will be constructive, for me, my first thought when I look at this is I think of Gene Simmons. Okay. Okay. That looks like fucking Gene Simmons. Let's look at Gene Simmons, right? Getting a little Gene, you getting a little bit of that? Right? Just a little bit. The other thing, when it comes to Lobo, he is a different alien race, right? So it shouldn't look like he's wearing makeup. It should just look like his skin. And when I look at that, that looks like Jason Momoa wearing makeup. And that would be sufficient if it was, I guess, if he was showing up at a Comic-Con in cosplay, right? That would look pretty good. But it just looks like makeup is smeared on his face. It's like I can see like his skin underneath it. And it doesn't give me that immersiveness when it comes to the character. And also just like, look how brown and yellow this whole thing is, man. It's just smudgy, muddy, brown, baby shit. Like, look at this. I know it's just one scene, I know it's just one scene. I understand that, but I just think it doesn't quite get me that excited. Now, I will say this. When it comes to Lobo in the upcoming Supergirl movie, my thought process on how much screen time his character is going to have is I would probably assume it's going to be sort of like the Hulk in Thor Ragnarok, where halfway through the movie, you get introduced to the Hulk in Thor Ragnarok, and then it becomes like a buddy team-up movie until the third act's over. That's kind of what I'm assuming happens in this, and I'm okay with that. I hope he has more screen time than like 10 minutes. That's all I'm saying. So when it comes to Lobo, the look of Lobo, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll look better by the time the movie comes out next summer. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. I hate modern color grading. Yeah, me and you both. I'll tell you one topic I was going to talk about today, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I didn't want to be too negative. I know. I was going to talk about the Netflix movie The Rip, starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Because I put out a post a couple weeks ago when this movie initially came out about my disdain and my displeasure of the film The Rip. Now, we can talk about it. Okay, this one person says they want to talk. I'll talk about it. So I put this out a couple weeks ago, and I said, The Rip on Netflix is a generic crime thriller, underlit, too digital, overproduced, looks like every other Netflix movie, big names, zero substance, made for everyone, which means it which means no one will remember it in a week. Love Damon and Affleck, but this wasn't a movie. It was just content. Okay? And a lot of people, like, it's kind of interesting. A lot of people agreed with it. A lot of people disagreed with it. And I think that is interesting. I mean, it got a lot of engagement, as the kids call it nowadays on X. But a lot of people, like, were angry that I didn't like the movie. And a lot of people agreed with me and were like, yeah, I think it's a piece of shit too. And I think that's so interesting. And I'm curious what you guys thought about the movie The Rip. For me, it feels kind of like a ripoff of my time when I sat down and watched it. And listen, when it comes to Netflix movies, Matt Damon was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he had something to say about Netflix movies, which isn't surprising. It's something I sort of always safely assumed and have heard from other places, but he more or less said, upon signing up to do this, they had to make some agreements with Netflix. And one of those agreements is basically the way you make an action movie for Netflix is you have 3 set pieces. In the first act, I'm sorry. So you want to start the movie off with the big explosions, big action, big set pieces to get everyone's attention. And then you basically want to reiterate the plot multiple times because everyone else is watching the phone in the background and scrolling on their phones. And isn't that a sad way to make movies? Like, if you have to cater to that audience, just don't. Just show reruns of SpongeBob cartoons or something. Like, why are we catering to the lowest common denominator of movie enthusiasts? Just don't. And my biggest problem with movies like The Rip is when you make mediocre content, not a movie, but mediocre content, and that's what people come to expect, and Netflix goes, yeah, this is normal. This is how we make movies. Well, guess what? That becomes the norm. And then you just keep getting movies like that. Disposable movies that no one's actually watching. And the only reason they are watching them or talking about them on social media is because that movie was free to watch. It was put on the front page of Netflix. That's the only reason you're watching it. If you had to put pants on and drive to the movie theater and pay $13 to watch it, you wouldn't, and no one would be talking about it. But then again, when it comes to Netflix, if you just take an old catalog movie from 1995 that was like a good movie, but no one really talks about it, and you put it on the front page of Netflix, it's like one of the top 5 movies streaming on Netflix. It's trending. I just think they should stick with that. Like, expose people to good movies. Don't make these original giant piles of shit that cost $90 million and then you get 2 A-list actors to be in it. Why are we wasting time on this? But when it comes to The Rip, from everything I just said about in the first act of the movie, giving your audience this big action set piece to get their attention, I didn't really feel like it did that. In the first 10 minutes of this movie, I was like, this is boring. I don't even want to watch it. Like, every character in the movie, they didn't feel like real people. I felt like I was watching a copy of a copy of a copy. Like a trope on top of a trope, of a generic trope. And I'm just like, everyone feels so hollow in this movie, I don't even care about what they're saying. And when it comes to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, I love them as actors. I do. I mean, they should have just had them write this movie and then maybe had Ben Affleck direct the movie. The guy can direct action. I love The Town. It's like one of my favorite heist movies of all time. And I feel like that's the flavor something like this needed. But the movie just was way too dark, way too boring. Like, at one point, I felt like a crappy version of Training Day meets Reservoir Dogs. And there was this whole aspect of this whodunit vibe. Like, who actually wants the money? Who's behind all of this? And then it just who it turns out to be is just like, oh, okay. Well, I thought I saw that coming 25 minutes ago, but thanks for telling me now. And just all the red herrings in the movie feel so forced. Anyway, I hated the movie The Rip. If you liked it, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And hey, at least it was free to watch, right? But once again, another January movie. And when it comes to the color grading of the movie, what did they just turn off the lights when they shot every scene in the movie? Just make this as dark as you possibly can. We don't need to see anything. Nothing. We don't need to see it. It's baffling to me. And guess what? In 6 months, no one will ever talk about this movie again. Everyone who gave this movie a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 on social media, which, by the way, most of those people have never seen a good movie in their lives, or they were paid to say such things, they will never talk about this movie again. Because the only way you can get attention by like saying something's kind of good is you got to say it's a 10 out of 10. There is no 2 to 9 on a rating scale anymore. It's a 1 or it's a 10. Okay? Now, I know I'm being a bit hyperbolic here, giving it a 1, but I genuinely feel like it deserves a 1. Maybe a 1.5. I'll be a nice guy with my ratings today, but I hated the movie The Rip. It's the sound you make right before you shit yourself, The Rip. And then you watch the movie, and it's one big pile of shit. Okay, we got one here from Roger something who says, when I go back and watch older movies, even if they are mid or not good, I don't feel like my soul is being attacked. Absolutely. There's a multitude of mediocre movies that exist that I like. I like a lot of mediocre, bad movies. But they also have like this certain level of charisma and craftsmanship to them that I think to myself, like, it's not the best movie ever, but there's like interesting characters or sequences or scenes, at least throughout the movie, that make me kind of want to watch this mediocre bad movie. But when you don't get any of that, when a movie is void of charisma and it just looks like draining to watch, it looks like literally like my definition of depression is the way that the movie The Rip looks. It's dark, it's sharp, it's crisp, and just nothing has any substance. That's what I think of when I think of depression, when I close my eyes. So, like, I would much rather watch Mercy 10 times in a row than watch The Rip. There, I said it. I said it. And I feel good about it. All right. Let's go to the next thing here. Let's go to your questions. And I've been making you guys wait too long, and here it is. The first question of tonight comes from Lee B. Films, who says... Okay, he says this. Hey, J Money, what's your favorite movie from each Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, and X-Men franchise? That's a good question, man. Well, first and foremost, thank you for the super chat, and any super chat over $5 gets a magical explosion to your face. So thank you. Plus, I like the way they smell. It's like sniffing gunpowder before you go into battle. Makes you a crazy warrior of the night. So my favorite movie of those franchises, I would probably go with... Gosh. Superman, Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel is my favorite Superman movie. It is. And I'm not a huge, crazy Superman fan by any means. I've always been a Batman fan, since birth. I've always been fascinated with Batman and those wonderful gadgets that he has. But I'd go with Man of Steel for Superman movies. For the Batman franchise, that's a hard one to give you a great answer because, like, obviously The Dark Knight's in there. Batman Begins is in there. But man, if I don't say like Batman Returns or Batman 89 aren't in that discussion, because those were like childhood favorites of mine. Like especially the dark grittiness of Batman Returns, which that movie just goes off the rails and becomes something entirely different where it is not suitable for young children. And that's what I love most about it. You got the Penguin who's like a child murderer and a male misogynistic, like, I was going to say the R word, but I don't want to get demonetized, but he's a little touchy with people and he also wants to murder children. But man, when he was like, I'll show my French flipper trick, and you got Catwoman over there with Michelle Pfeiffer wearing like this pleather spandex cat suit, just putting live birds in her mouth, licking herself clean. Even as a young child, I thought to myself, okay, all right, I like what I'm seeing. This makes sense to me. I get it. Oh, look, there's Batman. Go back to Michelle Pfeiffer. Let's see what she's doing. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yes. So those will definitely be in the discussion. But if I had to pick a Batman movie from the last 20 years, I'm going Dark Knight. Okay? All right. So let's continue on here. The next one was in the Spider-Man franchise. Guilty pleasure-wise, I just think it's a lot of fun, but it feels like a bloated Marvel movie. Spider-Man No Way Home. I have a lot of fun with that. I definitely like when the screenplay is the weakest element of the movie. Like, you know, it just feels like a bloated movie at times, but I like it. I like seeing Tobey's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tom Holland all team up. I think that's just a lot of fun. That's a fun, bloated popcorn movie to watch if you're a Spider-Man fan. But, you know, speaking of Sam Raimi, you know, I'd probably go back to the first Spider-Man movie. I think is the most elegant, well-crafted Spider-Man movie, which basically justified the existence of greenlighting comic book movies to be these big multi-$100 million movies. Without the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, I don't feel like we would be where we are with comic book movies. I truly don't. And I just think it's so timeless in a way, because like some of the one-liners in that first movie, like with great power comes great responsibility. Just the one-liners in that movie are timeless, and you can remember it. The sequences stand out, and it's a movie that came out 20 years ago. So actually, it came out like 2001? So 25 years ago, and it still kind of holds up in some ways. You know, except for what's her name? I'm trying to think of the singer in the parade scene. Macy Grace. Yeah, that doesn't really stand the test of time. The itsy bitsy spider. Hey, Peter. Anyway, don't tell Harry. I love that shit. And if I had to pick X-Men movies, for me, X-Men: The Last Stand is probably like my favorite X-Men movie to date. Easily. I think it gives you kind of like everything you want plus a little bit more when it comes to the X-Men characters. Also, but hey, I'm looking forward to the new phase of Marvel movies where they actually give X-Men like the spotlight, because the fact that they showed like Cyclops wearing his blue suit with his yellow like strip going across it, oh, that gets me so excited. It's like, okay, we're going to get X-Men characters that look like X-Men characters, not wearing black spandex jumpsuits. Okay, I'm excited to see what happens next. X-Men Days of Future Past. Is that what I said? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say X-Men The Last Stand? Is that what I said? No. Hang on. Let me punish myself. I'm going to blow my brains out with a party popper. 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's not what I meant, and that did hurt. I meant to say X-Men Days of Future Past. Let's clear that up right now. Okay? I'm sorry. That's what I meant to say. You get to see the Sentinels. You focus on Wolverine. It has time travel. Good stuff. I loved it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Let's just go to the next question. The next one comes from Untraceable, who says, "You and Mrs. Flick listen to the new Harry Potter books." I didn't know there was new Harry Potter books. What do you mean? Now, my wife has read the Harry Potter books like 575 times. She has seen the first Harry Potter movie probably 2,000 times. But I haven't listened to any new Harry Potter books, no. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from, but I'm looking forward to the new HBO series Harry Potter. We'll see how that goes. Okay, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, "Is the biggest strength of Sin Help Sam Raimi's fully unleashed style, or the fact that Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien elevate every scene together?" I think it's a little bit of both. I think Sam Raimi's style adds some flavor to the movie, which just made it feel like a memorable, fun movie with some really cool sequences. But Rachel McAdams has charisma. She's a great actress, and I liked her performance in this movie. Dylan O'Brien goes off the cuff in multiple scenes and plays a great douchebag when he needs to. So I think their chemistry added to the movie. Absolutely. As long as you cast actors that have charisma, even if you have a mediocre screenplay, they can elevate the shit that they are saying. Charisma goes so far when it comes to acting. It's necessary, it's needed, and it's dwindling. Have you noticed a lot of actors being cast nowadays that are new actors? They just feel like they're void of charisma, It's like, here's this guy playing this guy. He plays generic guy number 1. Go. Okay, all right. The next one comes from Cali2Zona32, who says, which art/artist band do you want to see get a biopic? Well, the one I have been waiting on for a long time was Michael Jackson, and now we're getting a Michael Jackson biopic. Now, will that be good? I don't know. Will it be fulfilling and gritty and visceral and give me all the seedy details about Michael Jackson that I want to see come to the big screen? Probably not. I almost guarantee it will not give you any of those things. Sort of like the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic about Freddie Mercury didn't give you any of those things either. And that's a bit unfortunate, but I understand it. You know, when you get biopics, they're made for the hardcore fan base because that's who wants to see these movies and that's who you need to appease. So you basically have to like celebrate the music catalog of these artists without kind of ruining their image. And it's a fine line to ride. And I think that's sort of more or less what the Michael Jackson biopic will be. Would I like it to dive into some of the like crazy stuff that happened to him in the 90s? Yes. Would I like to see like a scene of Michael Jackson behind closed doors where he just like lets the mask slip figuratively and literally and you get like the real version of him? I think that would be fascinating and also terrifying at the same time. But then again, you know, if they just want to focus on Thriller and the other fun shit that made his life phenomenal and the king of pop, so be it. But you know, that's what I would like to see. All right. The next one comes from Cali2Zona32 once again, and thank you for the question. That was a nice, juicy party popper, if I say so myself. Okay, the question is, my favorite moments from 28 years later, The Bone Temple are when Ian Kelson killed... Well, I don't want to spoil it. You're spoiling it. I can't say the spoilers. I'll be vague, okay? This is vague. I'll be vague, even though I think it popped up on the screen. But anyway, when Dr. Kelson killed somebody with kindness and the Iron Maiden scene, shocked that Kick-Ass never showed up. Oh, yes. So I'm sure some characters from the first film will show up at some point later in the trilogy. But yeah, that scene where he's playing Iron Maiden and there's a dancing sequence with fire. See the movie just for that scene alone. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. But thank you so much for the question. The Mark of the Beast, 666. I loved it. I listened to it on the way home after watching the movie. Okay, Sal5227 says, what are your thoughts on Travis Scott being in Nolan's The Odyssey? Is that true? Is that confirmed? Can someone verify that for me? I don't know if there's any truth to that. Let me see. Does he play like a washed up skeleton on the beach? Because that's what he looks like. Travis Scott. Maybe he plays like a dilapidated tree branch in the background. Is this him? Or is this fake? I don't know, man. I don't know. This is what I'm finding here. Somebody let me know if this is factual. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Travis Scott. I think he makes shitty music, and I don't want to see him be a shitty actor. Just watching Travis Scott for the few moments I did in WWE over the last year, it was like the worst parts of it. I don't think he adds anything. And to add something, you would have to have talent. So I hope he's not in the movie. It's real? Well, whatever. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. Yeah, it doesn't get me excited to see the movie, but I guess. All right, the next one comes from. And by the way, Sal, thank you for the question. You also get a party popper. Okay, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, Vince Gilligan is in talks about doing a Star Wars series. Would that reignite your interest in a Disney Star Wars show? If Vince Gilligan was the head creative and in charge of all the story elements and direction of a Star Wars show, and I knew it was going to have a little bit of grit to it and not just feel like Disney Plus schlock, maybe. I guess there's so much you can do in a Star Wars universe. There really is. The possibilities are truly unlimited, much like the universe that the story takes place in. Yeah, I guess I'd be okay with it. And on a positive note, I am looking forward to the, the Starfighter upcoming movie starring Ryan Gosling. I think that looks kind of interesting. I think that could be kind of cool. They're kind of deviating away from the main iconic characters and kind of expanding it a little bit where they can tell a different story in this galaxy far, far away and just do some fun, fantasy sci-fi-esque elements. And that lends itself to an awesome blockbuster type movie. Give me that. I'll go to the theater and watch that as I shove overpriced popcorn down my throat and I drink my delicious Dr. Pepper that I snuck in. Absolutely, I will watch that. But yeah, that would give me some faith. Absolutely. All right, thanks for the question, man. Andy Kumar 2817 says, "Do you use Zen, bro?" I don't know what that is. Is that some new Gen Z shit? I don't know. Zen? What is? I know what Zen means. Yes. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm always high strung. There is no Zen. Unless I take an edible and I watch reruns of Game of Thrones or Stranger Things. Hey, by the way, are you guys watching A Night of the Seven Kingdoms series? Have you guys been watching that? Let me know down below what you guys think about it. Now, I have some quick thoughts, and I want to share these quick thoughts with you. When it comes to Game of Thrones, I love Game of Thrones season 1 through 6. Now, by 7 and 8, yeah. By 8, it's just like subvert your expectations because we're just going to end this well-crafted series as quickly as we can. And it's not going to be very appeasing or fulfilling, but we will have an ending. But when it comes to this spin-off series, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, following Sir Duncan the Tall, who's sort of this well-to-do but naive knight who's 7 feet tall. We've only gotten one episode. The second episode is on tonight, which I plan on watching it immediately following this live show. I like it. I'm hoping it picks up a little bit more. My biggest complaint, though, so far is all these episodes in this season are going to be like 35 to 45 minutes. And for me, it's like hard to get super immersed into that. It's like I need at least an hour. Come on, give me an hour. But they only have so much story to tell. And I know that this spin-off series is based on a series of novellas from George R.R. Martin or whatever. But I like it. I like the time period. I like the visuals of it. I like that it's sort of leaning into the comedy aspect a little bit because in that first episode, right before the epic Game of Thrones open title sequence hits with that music, it just cuts to him shitting under a tree. And I'm like, okay, I get where you're going with this. It's more of a comedic series, but yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm just hoping it picks up a little bit. What do you guys think about it? I like how small scale it is, and I like that it's a dramedy. Yeah, me too. I like that there's a little levity coming back into it, because if you step back and look at Game of Thrones, there was a lot of levity in that show. And I think that levity is what made it so fun at times. Now, it definitely gets dark, and there's some brutal stuff happening, but you need bits of levity. And that levity, for me, is like missing in other Game of Thrones spin-off series like House of the Dragon, which has no levity. It's just depressing and it just feels so like monotone at times. And I like it, but I'm just not that glued to it or invested in the characters. But I think with A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, like that levity does help and it elevates it a little bit and just makes it more fun. So I like it. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool thus far. It's something to watch on a Sunday night. So I'm digging it thus far. Hopefully episode 2 gets me more invested in the series. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay, let's go to the next one here. The next one comes from Silvio has been a member for 30 months. Thank you so much, Silvio. I love you too. Cali2Zona32 says, current actress crush, mine is Rachel Zegler. Are you joking with me? After you watch Snow White, you still like her? Come on, man. I don't know about that. But listen, I'll just go with what I'm repping tonight. I got my Sydney Sweeney free promo t-shirt on that I stole from the movie theater that just lays on the biceps just right. I got it from Regal Cinemas. So shout out to the manager of Regal Cinemas because he was like, just take as many of these pieces of shit as you want, man. And we took like 3 or 4 t-shirts, not going to lie to you. But anyway, I got my Sydney Sweeney shirt on tonight. So I'm going to go with that for now. I'll just go with that. All right. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, would society honestly be better off if Y2K had wiped out all the computers in the 2000s? And are we worse off because of it? No, I think there's a fine line to ride when let me tighten up my microphone. That's it. Okay. I think there's a fine line to ride when it comes to technology. Don't you? Now hear me out for a second. I feel like had technology and social media just stopped dead in its tracks back in 2014, I think the world that we exist in now would be much better and much more pleasant. And hear me out for a second. I will elaborate on this. Back in 2014, you had everything you needed. You had high-speed internet. You had computers that could do things. The movies were great. You had streaming services. You had a smartphone. You had social media. But you had just enough social media that it didn't feel like it was bombarding you with every aspect of your life. And the more social media content we get, I think the more disingenuous it becomes. It's just content for the sake of content. It's like you get more content with people saying less. And I feel like none of it ultimately matters. But back in 2014, when you got a YouTube video, when you got an Instagram post or a tweet or what have you, it just felt more meaningful and there was less of it. So you could like focus on what mattered and what didn't matter, but you still had life was still social. Like you still had like the social aspect of reality. Like, oh, I'm done looking at the computer. Let me go outside now and touch grass. Look, the sky is beautiful today. We still had those things, and the movie theater industry was still thriving. People went to the cinema all the time. We had the rental industry was like on its way out, but you still had some red boxes. So hey, there's that. And you still had streaming. So it was like the thing I'm getting at was in 2014, it was like the best of all the worlds combined. Everything was thriving and prosperous, and people were happy. And now everything's declining and dying, and you're inundated with all this nonsensical junk, this content junk, and everything's dying because of it. It's like the more access we all have to like the internet and social media, the worse it has become for us in society. So I would go back to 2014 and end it there. I would put a law in place that nothing else can advance technologically unless it's for medical related reasons. That is it. We're done. And I would be okay with that. Someone said, I'm into Scarlett Johansson and Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz, yeah, she still looks pretty good for her age, I suppose. Scarlett Johansson, absolutely. Absolutely. Dude, I remember watching The Island, Michael Bay's The Island with Scarlett Johansson and just thinking this is top-notch perfection. And I think we should all take a moment to look at Scarlett Johansson in The Island. I don't think she's ever looked better. I really don't. She plays like Echo 1 or something. That's her name in the movie. She's a clone. Just make another copy of that clone, and I'll put her in my closet at home. Here she is. I mean, right? I mean, has Scarlett Johansson ever looked more top-notch than that right there? I would say not. Okay. Let's go to the next one here, and the next one comes from Callie 2 Zona once again, who says, "Tell us movies you like that everyone else hates." Trying to think of a movie that I like that everyone else hates. I've always well, I'll give you two. And if you've been watching for a while now, you probably already know what I'm going to say. Over the Top. I don't think Over the Top gets the respect it deserves. It's a very listen, the screenplay to Over the Top is not the greatest, but when you inject the charisma and the testosterone of Sylvester Stallone in that movie, and the visuals of the movie actually look kind of good. Like some of the shots of the truck driving through the mountains, there's some nice visuals in that movie. And plus the score is great in Over the Top. So those are things that I think people who say it's a shitty 80s movie, they're not taking those things into account. Another movie that I've always enjoyed, though it does get bombastic and stupid as shit, is Waterworld starring Kevin Costner. And the movie opens up with him drinking his own urine. I think it's a beautiful movie. I really do. Those are two movies I quite enjoy that not a lot of people like. But if you want something a bit more small scale that no one talks about or remembers, I'll give you this one right here. This is a movie no one watches, no one talks about. Hang on. It's Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Now, if you've never seen this movie, it stars Christina Applegate, and it came out in the early 90s. And basically the plot to this movie is this group of kids, their mom goes out of town. She does hire this old babysitter who's just like a crazy, kooky, strict old lady. And then she dies. And like the title says, they don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. And they have a great summer of a lot of ups and downs and a lot of what have yous. But this is like the pinnacle of like a early 1990s comedy movie. I promise you, if you watch this movie, I think you will be entertained by it. If the title is you get what the title says. It's not lying to you. I promise you that. And the comedy works in the movie. I think it's great. Also, I will say this. There's a character named Brian in the movie. He plays like a delivery guy who's sort of like the love interest of Christina Applegate here. And let me see if I can find him. Is this him? No, that's not him. Where is he? Brian Delivery. Let me see if I can find him. Oh, here he is. Okay. So this guy right here who plays Brian and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Who does he look like to you? He looks like fucking Steve from Stranger Things. He acts like him and he looks like him. Now go watch the movie and tell me this is not the original version of Steve from Stranger Things. All right. Let's keep going. The next question comes from Skylar Wheelock. Tonight is the perfect night to watch The Hateful Eight. It's a cold blizzard outside in Ohio, and then maybe Fargo and The Thing. Got any other brutal winter atmospheric recommendations? Man, I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it, man. And those are all the movies I would say. When it's a cold, blizzard-like night, we'll go with that. When there's a lot of snow on the ground, okay, we'll just say that. The Hateful Eight is my go-to. There's nothing I would enjoy more in life than being in a winter storm, trapped in a cabin in the mid-1800s with a group of killers in the Wild West. Okay, there's nothing I would enjoy more than that. And underneath our feet is Channing Tatum. So yeah, I definitely would agree with all those. You said Fargo? Yeah, yep. I think you got him, man. I think those are all the good calls. Someone said Batman Returns. Yeah, Misery. Hey, there's another one. winter wonderland of chaos and depravity. Yeah, I'd go with that. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Clark 1140, who says, "The Bone Temple was rad and metal as heck. So gruesome and gory. The only disappointment is Samson's dingling is smaller. I wanted a bigger wing." Yeah, I called him Samson. Samson is his name, yes. Yeah, you know what? A man can only hold so much blood there for so long, and eventually it just... And, with the less anger in Samson's heart, the smaller, never mind. But yeah, I get what you're saying, yes. He just wasn't as aroused, I guess. Zombies are aroused when they're chasing and killing people. When you dope them up in morphine, they just calm down. Maybe it was cold out that day. You can't... Listen, you just can't judge things, okay? You gotta take into account the temperature. The guy's not wearing any pants. It's cold out. All right? It's still bigger than my arm, so that's all that matters. All right, the next one comes from... And thanks for the question, Clark. And you get a party popper, you freak. All right, the next one comes from... We got one here from Little Raska. How's it going, Little Raska? Who says, "If you were a transformer... what vehicle/animal/whatever would you transform into?" I would turn into a triceratops because they are fat, dumb, and horny just like me. Holy shit. Okay. Well, we know what kind of dinosaur you'd be. What kind of car would you be, man? Would you be... So based on your description, I'm going to say you'd be the short bus. Like the little school bus that's short. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, fair enough. If I had to pick, I don't know. I'd probably be like... I'd probably be a mid-size yet practical SUV, that got decent gas mileage, that had heated seats. The kind of car the weekend warrior would buy, but also you want to live in a suburban community with an HOA. That's the kind of car I'd be, putting it out there. I got all-terrain tires, but I don't necessarily need them. That's probably the type of vehicle I would be. If anything, I would want to be the Tumbler from Batman Begins. But if I could turn into a dinosaur and be a transformer, which then again, like, why the fuck do you want to be a dinosaur if you're already a robot? Like, oh, let me hide in disguise as this dinosaur. They won't notice me. I don't know. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This might be the most honest thing I've ever said on the live shows. So hear me out, everyone watching right now. I honestly think being a dinosaur would suck. I mean, think about it. They're reptilian-like creatures. Like, you either have to be a T-Rex, which is like the coolest dinosaur, but then you have like those little arms, and I can't... What am I going to do with that? What do I do with this? And then what? What are you, long neck dinosaurs? And now you're a herbivore, and I don't want to eat leaves all day with a big old long neck, right? Nah, how do you get comfortable with such a thing? Maybe a velociraptor. They're small and agile, but also apex predators. I'll be a velociraptor. How's that? And if anything, I'll just be Jeff Goldblum. Can I be Jeff Goldblum? That's who I want to be. You are going to have dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour? All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from... Oh, and by the way, Little Raska, thank you for the question. You get a party popper, you dinosaur madman. All right. Colin Matt's Owls 5839. How's it going, Colin? Thanks for the question, man. What are some of your favorite concerts you've been to? I saw AC/DC live last year, and it was incredible. Was it actually AC/DC, or did you see the... I know there's like a a cover band that's really good with AC/DC. But anyway, I've only been to like a handful of concerts, and I'm trying to think. I've been to Blink 182. That was okay. I've seen Five Finger Death Punch. That was kind of cool. What other concerts have I been to? I remember going to this Flaw concert. Flaw is like this metal band that was a bit more popular back in like 2005, 2006. And we went to this really small concert venue in Columbus, Ohio. And this thing was like super small but packed. And it was like a mosh pit, the entire thing. My friend, when he was moshing, lost both of his shoes. So he went home barefoot. That was a fun time. That was a pretty cool concert. I remember it got so hot in there, I wanted to go outside and puke. But that's when you know you're having a good time. Also, last year I went to a Billy Joel concert at Lucas Oil Stadium, which is like a 70,000 person venue stadium. It's a football stadium. Watching Billy Joel live was kind of cool and epic. So I'll go with those. There's a couple cool concerts I've been to. I assumed he meant the band, yes. John would kick some ass in a mosh pit. No. I'm not a mosh pit guy. Trust me, I don't want to get my head knocked into or head butted and lose my teeth. I like music. I'm just not that into it. You know what I mean? The closest I get to doing mosh pits is when I listen to the Mortal Kombat soundtrack in my underwear at home, and then I start doing scissor kicks and scream, "Get over here," in my underwear. That's the closest I get to moshing, okay? Dustin Rich says, have you shoveled your driveway yet? Absolutely not. And I don't want to. Dude, I literally have 3 feet of snow in my driveway right now. It's negative 10 degrees outside. I don't give a shit. I will just back up going 100 miles per hour out of my garage to get to the street. I don't care. Now, I do have a snow machine that kind of shovels my driveway for me. But it's just too cold out there, man. And I'll tell you a quick side story. The other day at my normal day job, I was doing an inspection and I was on top of a house and it was negative 16 degrees out with the windshield factor. And I have gloves. My gloves have these fingertip capability, which sounds kind of weird, but basically I can pull the top part of the glove off and get to my fingertips because I do have to use my phone quite a bit. And I pulled those off for like maybe, 15 minutes. And I didn't notice it until later that night, but my index finger was literally numbed and calloused. And I looked it up, and it basically was the early signs of frostbite. Had I just kept exposing my skin to this negative 16 degree weather, after about 5 more minutes, I would have had frostbite on my finger, and my finger would be black and dying right now. So there's that. So no, I'm not shoveling shit. I don't care. Guess what? You know the best thing about snow? It eventually melts. So we'll just leave it there. I'll probably do it tomorrow. I know. All right. But thanks for the question, man. And you also get a party popper. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, if you could go out and drink one night with any wrestler, who would you be picking? Oh, probably Chris Benoit. I'd be like, hey, man, how crazy are you really? No, I'm kidding. Maybe Stone Cold. I think if you're going to drink with any wrestler, it's got to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, hell yeah. That's my Stone Cold impression. Not very good. Dustin Rich says, I tried the fast backup method once and got stuck and somehow ripped open an antifreeze hose. I wouldn't try it. I got an SUV. It's got all-wheel drive. I'll be okay. I promise. Mr. Ims says, thoughts on USA and why everyone hates it now. Love from the UK. It's polarizing times. It's very diverse in the US right now. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of what have yous. But I always say, if you just stay inside watching reruns of The Office, nothing bad will ever happen to you. And that's where I will be. But yeah, man, it's we're definitely on the spotlight, aren't we, of the planet. But then again, if you just back up, and there's so much more, there's worse countries out there. I promise you, it's not the USA. Like, look at North Korea. Just come on. Go. If you get really bored, watch North Korean videos on TikTok. Just watch that shit for like 10 minutes, and you will be so grateful for where you just happen to exist. I could not imagine existing in North Korea and like having to like dance like a Wii character in Wii Sports every time a man walked in the room. It's terrifying, man. Big Chunga says, "Hey John, I'm gay." Well, man, that's awesome. Good for you. That is awesome. Hey, that's awesome. Okay. I was going to say, prove it. Joe says, "John, watch The Patriot off your recommendation. Really enjoyed it. What are your thoughts on Kingdom of Heaven?" Dude, I'm glad you enjoyed The Patriot. That is such an underrated movie from the man who directed Independence Day. But it's by far and away his best movie he's ever directed, in my opinion. If you've never seen The Patriot, go watch it. Phenomenal Mel Gibson movie. You know, unpopular opinion, The Patriot and Braveheart are very similar in like the themes and the overall tones. But I think I prefer The Patriot, just putting it out there. Plus, it's got Heath Ledger in it. I do like Kingdom of Heaven. I don't love it. I've seen it probably like 2 or 3 times. The extended cut is much better. And I like Edward Norton in Kingdom of Heaven because he's basically, he plays the, I forget his name in the movie, but he plays the ruler who's dying of leprosy that's eating his face, and he wears a metal mask. It's a great movie. Orlando Bloom, fun stuff. Okay, the next one comes from... where am I? Okay, here we go. Mims has become a member. Thanks, Mims. We'll chime in the chat, man. All right, you got one here from Clark1140 who says, "Are you going to see No Other Choice? It's a dark comedy about unemployment from the director of Oldboy. Could be similar to Oldboy and Parasite." No Other Choice? This sounds vaguely familiar. No Other Choice movie. It came out in 2025. On IMDb, it has a 7.6. Interesting. Oh, it's in cinemas now. What's the plot? Okay. The overview. Abruptly laid off after 25 years at the same company, a desperate man goes to extreme lengths to eliminate the competition for the job he wants. Ooh, I kind of like that. Interesting. Yeah, I'll check this out. I mean, if it's from the director of Oldboy, I definitely am intrigued by it. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll check it out. I don't know if I'll check it out in theaters right away, but I will at some point check that out. Has anyone seen it? Did you guys like it? Do you recommend it? Let me know. Tyler says, "The Patriot is an awesome movie with Mel Gibson jumps out of the woods and kills those redcoats was just freaking awesome." Yeah, when Mel Gibson goes full vigilante mode with a tomahawk and just destroys like 15 dudes in redcoats during the Revolutionary War, it is a badass sequence. I promise you, you will enjoy it if you've never seen it. Have you seen Return to Silent Hill? I have not, and will I? Probably never. But thanks for the question, Clark. Thank you so much. And here's your party popper. All right, Jokerface501, how's it going? It says, "John, who's your pick to win the Royal Rumble of 2026? You know, I'm not sure on it. It really depends. I could see Braun Breaker winning it. I could see Roman Reigns winning it. I'm not quite sure. You know, I could almost see... and I don't know if AJ Styles is actually going to lose his match against Gunther at the Royal Rumble, though I wouldn't mind if he just did and retired. Because I think this is like, why would you have a retirement match the last year that you're wrestling and then you win your retirement match and then you just keep wrestling for 9 more months and then you willingly retire? I don't know. I could almost see Gunther losing that AJ Styles retirement match and then showing up in the Royal Rumble and winning it. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen. Maybe Randy Orton wins it. I don't know. But I'm going to go with either Roman Reigns or maybe Braun Breaker. I could see either of those two winning it. Okay, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Callie2 Zona 32, who says, "Are you slightly older than me? I'm 32. Do you remember those around you liking the Phantom Menace in 1999 or were most against it from the start?" So I'm 38. I know it's hard to believe with my boyhood-like charm and sensibility. But I remember seeing Phantom Menace in 1999. I was 12 years old. And I kind of thought it was like a lot of fun. You know, I thought it was okay. But the thing is, in 1999, you didn't really get a sense of what everyone thought about anything. Unless you knew them personally or you heard somebody talk about it at school or what have you. That was really the end of the discussion. Or maybe you came across something on TV at some point, but there wasn't a lot of critical analysis happening on TV. Like if someone was talking about a movie on TV, it was bought and paid for, and they gave it a positive remark. You know, I like where was I going with that? Oh, Siskel and Ebert. You know, you might see that every once in a while at 12 o'clock at night, but that was really the only critical analysis of films I saw on TV as a kid or heard about. The internet wasn't really the thing it is now. So I don't remember anyone like hating on the Phantom Menace, but I also don't remember a lot of people talking about it either. But now you go back and you watch some of those videos of people going to the Phantom Menace on opening night, and everyone that comes out of the theater is just like, I loved it. Best movie I've ever seen. And that's what you typically get with anyone that watches a big IP movie immediately afterwards. Everyone loves the movie after they see it until they get to think about it. And then that perception sort of dwindles and fades away. So I don't know. I didn't hear anyone talk too much shit about it in 1999, just to be completely honest with you. Who's your pick for the new Batman? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I haven't put a lot of thought into it. Do you go with an unknown or do you go with someone like Jake Gyllenhaal? I'm not sure. And I don't want someone who just kind of looks like Batman playing Batman. I want a good actor playing Batman. Because when he's not wearing the cape and cowl, I need this to be a phenomenal Batman. But then again, you know, we still have another Batman movie starring Robert Pattinson coming out at some point. It's only been 15 years. But now we're on year 2 of Batman. He's the brand new Batman, but he's 47 years old. I want to be Batman. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from... And by the way, Callie2 Zona, the best thing about the Phantom Menace was Duel of the Fates and Darth Maul. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, Taxi Driver hitting the 50th anniversary on February 8th is insane. That movie still feels uncomfortable yet relevant and ahead of its time. Do you think anything since has matched its intensity? You should rewatch it. I've seen Taxi Driver like 20 times, man. I probably watched it just like a year or two ago. My wife had never seen it, so I showed her Taxi Driver in 4K. I love me some Taxi Driver. You got Jodie Foster playing like a 12-year-old working girl in the streets with a pimp who calls her a little chicken wing. Talk about a phenomenal movie. And then you got Travis Bickle, played by Robert De Niro, in one of the most iconic scenes of all time, or iconic performances of all time. The nuance in that movie is top notch. Just the narration, the film noir vibe of that film directed by Martin Scorsese. And that scene where Martin Scorsese plays a character in the back seat of the taxi, where he's looking up at the window and he's like, "Hey, you see that window up there? No, the one to the right of it. Yeah. You know who lives there? My wife lives there. Yeah. Yeah. But, she's with another man right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 12 Magnum and I'm going to shoot her. I'm going to shoot her right in the pussy." It's just like, oh my God, what a scene. It just, you ever see what a 12 Magnum can do to a woman's, So, dude, yes, I've seen Taxi Driver and I love the movie. Just the way it's shot is top notch and beautiful. Just the way, like, the cinematography, the film. And by the way, when it comes to 4K movies, watching Taxi Driver on 4K, like, it retains all of the grain and grit of New York City in the late 70s, because New York City in the 70s was a shithole. Don't let anyone ever tell you differently. That's what it looked like. Yeah, they didn't just add all the trash to the streets for the sake of the movie. No, that's what that looked like. But it's beautiful. Great looking 4K. Yeah, 357 Magnum. I'm sorry. Roger something says the pottery scene. Yeah, the pottery scene in Phantom Menace. Yes, I didn't even touch on that. Yippee! Good stuff, man. I always thought this about the pottery scene, though. Hear me out for just a second. Not a lot of people can be pod racers. Okay, but yet we have starships going at the speed of light. But the pod racers are going at what? I don't know. We'll just say they're going at 2,000 miles per hour. I'll say they're going 5,000 miles per hour, even though they're not, because you can see them and going past the finish line. They're not going faster than like a jet would, but yet you have people that can fly spacecrafts going at the speed of light, named Han Solo. So I don't know. I think young Anakin was overstating that not a lot of people can do it. I'm just putting it. I feel like I could race a pod racer. I'm not saying I'd come in first place. I'm just saying I feel like I might be able to do it. All right, let's go to the next one. And the next one comes from Tyler Brusso, who says, "Love you, John." Well, I love you too, sir. Mary F. Kill, Lights, Camera Jackson, Tiny Todd, your Old Bane mask. I'd like to do all three to my Old Bane mask, if you don't mind. Well, let's just be honest with ourselves first and foremost here. Let's just instantly kill Lights, Camera Jackson. He's dead. He's gone. How did he die? I hope in the most brutal, painful death that you could only imagine. And I hope that he had a slow, agonizing death. The next one would be, you know what? We'll F Tiny Todd. And then we'll kill the Old Bane mask. I don't know, man. What a weird question, but thank you so much. All right. The next one comes from Luca Bernaskowitz. How's it going, Luca? Where's Claudia Roguejohn and Night King 01 tonight? It's Sunday night. I guarantee school is canceled tomorrow. Why are they not here? Anyway, where does Buffalo Bill want the lotion? On the skin, man. You got to moisturize that skin before you cut it off and make a lampshade out of it. You can stretch it much easier if it's all moist with cocoa butter. Or at least that's what I found. All right. Well, thanks for the question, man. All right. If you guys have anything to chime into on the normal chat, I'm watching, I'm listening. Chat away. Once again, you don't have to put super chats in for me to read your question. You just have to have a good question. That's my only prerequisite for you guys. I'm shocked John hasn't heard of No Other Choice. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't hear about the movie. I don't know. It has one showing though at the theater at 7:30. So I don't know. It sounds cool. I'll definitely check it out. Tyler Brusso says, I've been rewatching all of your old live streams. That's why I had to ask. Laugh out loud. Well, thanks, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Going back and rewatching that. Didn't you leave a comment on one of my other live streams or something? I saw it pop up a week or two ago. And that means a lot. Thanks for going back and rewatching those older live streams. It does mean a lot, man. Let me know if you come across anything good. Did the Bone Temple improve the previous one for you? I love 28 Years Later. I genuinely do think the Bone Temple does improve part 1. Because like I said, part 1 is sort of like watching the first act of a movie. And if you don't get any payoff from that, well, it's like, you get a lot of buildup without any payoff. So I think Bone Temple has that payoff for all those questionable, weird things that the first part sets up. And the direction that it goes in Bone Temple, I was very happy with. It felt logical. I liked where the characters were going. And some of those weird, kooky characters that were presented in the first movie, like their ideology is explored more so in the second movie, and it makes more sense for who they are and what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I think the payoff was definitely there. And I think in the third movie, it's going to go like we're going to separate away from those first two movies quite a bit, with maybe one of the plot lines carrying over with Aaron Taylor Johnson a little bit. And then we're going to meet up with some new characters and go on like another journey. Now, how much bigger does this story get? I'm not quite sure. Will it ever be resolved? I don't know. But I hope it's not, because I like the zombie apocalypse and I don't want them to fix it. Skylar Wheelock back again says, Jacob Elordi is the top choice for playing James Bond and Denis Villeneuve's Bond. He's going to be undercover. He's going to be an undercover 7-foot guy. What are your thoughts on this? Isn't he? He's only like 6'7", isn't he? I like him as an actor. I liked him in Euphoria. That was like my first introduction to him as an actor. And like based on his performance in Euphoria, I had no clue that he had an accent. And he does play a great sociopathic character. And also I thought in Frankenstein, he did pretty good as well. Now, the one detriment here is he's very fucking tall. So him playing James Bond, just like if the guy could just be like 4 inches shorter, maybe it would work out better. But hey, if they want to have a tall James Bond, then so be it. There's nothing worse though than watching like a lanky guy run. It's just really unsettling. You know what I mean? Like no matter how much muscle he builds up on his frame, he's still going to look like really tall and slender. I don't know. We'll see. But I wouldn't hate it, is what I'm saying. I think it would be doable. John said 6'7". Oh, shit. Oh, let me punish myself. I'm going to take one right to the chest. I'm taking it to the chest. Don't ever do it again, John. Don't ever do it again. Okay, I'm back. I was resurrected. I will never do it again. John, what if by some fluke with the studio you get sent 100 copies of Mercy on 4K? Well, I'll be selling them bitches on eBay, won't I? Free shipping. I'd probably at least break one of them on camera for you and do a giveaway of at least 20 other copies of it. That's the least I could do. But I hope they do make that mistake. That would be great. No, my wife is a teacher. She teaches kindergarten, and 6'7". She's like, if I ever hear that again, I will jump out of a window. And I'm like, I understand. I get it. All right. We got one here from Tyler Brusso. How's it going, Tyler? Dylan O'Brien for the new Cyclops, maybe. I could see that. Yeah, Cyclops always had kind of like a pretty boy, slight asshole demeanor to him, or at least that's the kind of Cyclops I want. Yeah, I could buy that. Dylan O'Brien as Cyclops, I could see that. And dude, the dude's like, he's working out. He looked buff in Send Help. He was in shape, so I could see him playing like a superhero. Sure, why not? I think that's not a bad casting choice whatsoever. I would be okay with that. Not a bad choice. Who would you guys like to see Cyclops? Who do you guys want to see play the new Wolverine? Let me know that. All right, Lucas Bernaskowitz back again says, do you have a favorite Lord of the Rings scene? Dude, honestly, anything with Gollum in it is one of my favorite Lord of the Rings scenes. But my favorite Lord of the Rings movie is definitely Fellowship. And I love Fellowship because you get the Shire opening, you get that, and you start off on the journey. And to me, it's just so much more immersive. And I like the amount of like Gollum you get in that movie. I think it's the perfect concoction of everything when it comes to Lord of the Rings. But yeah, honestly, anything with Gollum, I'm like glued to the screen, just watching that creepy little gooey bastard, obsess over his preciousness. My preciousness. And I am looking forward to, what is it, Return of the Gollum or whatever that cash grab coming out from Andy Serkis is called. I am looking forward to it. I hope it's good. I really do. Danny DeVito for Wolverine. You know what? Okay. Interesting. He could play like Wolverine's brother, like Beaver. His mutant name is Beaver, played by Danny DeVito. And his superpower is he can chew wood real quick. I would be okay with that. Roger something says, who would possibly play Wolverine? Dude, I've said this once. I'll say it again. My pick for Wolverine, and listen, we're like 10 years past due where it could have happened. I don't think he would do it at this point, and maybe not. I don't know. But I thought like 10 years ago, Tom Hardy would be the perfect new incarnation of Wolverine. He's short. He can build a lot of muscle. He can look stocky because with the muscle mass he gained to play Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, he can hunch over. He kind of talks mumbly. Just make him grow his mutton chops out all gross and hairy like. That would be like what Wolverine should be. Because keep in mind, Wolverine wasn't some 6'5" guy that looked like Clint Eastwood in the way that Hugh Jackman portrays him. No. Wolverine was like an animal. Like it was like a 4'5" bent over dude that looked all hairy and grotesque almost. And that's what I want Wolverine to go back to. But he had a likability and a heart of gold. Great anti-hero vibe. So that's who I would pick. Now, if I had to pick someone to play Wolverine now, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I'll say this. That one cameo scene we got in Deadpool versus Wolverine where we got Henry Cavill as like an alternative version of Wolverine working on his Harley Davidson, looking jacked as shit in that tank top. Oh, that, you know what? I wouldn't hate that. Just putting it out there. If I can't have him play Superman, he can play Wolverine. I think if you can't have Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine, give me Henry Cavill. But then again, I'd like Henry Cavill to play James Bond. Just tuned in. How's fatherhood treating you, Johnny? You a dad yet? No, I am not. I am not ready for that amount of responsibility yet. I'm a dude that has a party popper streamer on him. Actually, multiple party popper streamers on him. So there's that. Give me another year or two. John Flickinger for Wolverine. I don't think I could grow that thick enough sideburns. I think that's the problem here. I do not want to see Tom Cruise as Wolverine. No, thank you. Just Wolverine running all fucking fast everywhere he goes. Have you talked about He/He-Man yet? Oh, you guys want to talk about He-Man? Okay, let's talk about He-Man. Let's find this trailer here. Now, I'll be honest with you. I've only seen like screen grabs from this trailer. I have not watched the trailer in its entirety yet. Hang on. We're going to talk about... Okay, hang on. Here we go. Okay. So, let's talk about the He-Man trailer. Now, I have not watched this trailer. I've only seen screen grabs. This is all I've seen of it, so we're basically going to watch it together. And for the sake of copyright, I'm going to have to skim through it a little bit because, you know, studios they want every penny they can get from us content creators. All right, so let's watch this bad boy. And when it comes to He-Man, I've never been the biggest He-Man fan. Like, I think Great Skull's castle was like a really cool set piece when it came to toys. I always thought the action figures for He-Man were really cool, like muscle-bound dudes wearing underwear. Yeah, I'm going to buy that as a kid and play with it and have him ride his green little tiger. But when it comes to He-Man, that's all I really know about it. So let's watch some of this. And also when it comes to He-Man, I have seen Masters of the Universe starring Dolph Lundgren, which is an abomination against humanity. So as long as this is slightly better than that, I think we're like making progress. All right, let's watch this bad boy. Don't you love when before a trailer starts, they have to say, yeah, the trailer's starting now, because everyone has ADHD and the attention span of a gnat. But anyway, let's watch it. There's Castle Grayskull. It looks gray. Looks like a skull. Looks good to me. Oh, we're getting real fantastical. This looks like Thor Ragnarok. What is this? Interesting. Yeah, I'm getting very strong like MCU Thor vibes from this. Where I come from, it's not magic, it's science. Now, okay, all right. Oh, Adam Glenn. He, him. He-Man. It should have said he-man after it. That's what I would have my plate say under my name. Yes. So it's very meta. And I think that's a new trend for most movies. Everything is like so self-aware and meta. Now, I guess you could make the claim that this looks like IP puke onto the big screen. It's just like, here's IP. Look at this. But it's kind of reminding me of... Sir, you can't do that. Don't worry. The sword's mine. It kind of reminds me so far of that Dungeons and Dragons movie that we got a couple years ago starring Chris Pine. And it's like they take this IP concept and they make it into like this meta self-aware comedy movie. And like, I think that's fine. That works, you know. And as long as you get the things that people want to see right interwoven in there, I guess it works. Because a movie like this can never take itself too serious. I think it would lose money if it did, but making it sort of a comedy opens it up for everyone to see it. Because let's be honest, I don't think an actual He-Man movie would do that good at theaters, just putting it out there. I know it has some hardcore fans, but general audiences aren't craving a He-Man movie. But I'll watch muscle-bound dudes fight any day of the week with swords. All right, where's the fucking Jared Leto thing? Let's just see his stupid ass. This just looks like Thor Ragnarok, man. This is what it looks like to me. Oh, there it is. There's Jared Leto. This is actually what Jared Leto looks like without Botox. Right there. That's what he actually looks like. Is that Idris Elba? Anyway. The power! Well, the dude's buff, that's for sure. At least he looks like He-Man. There's Jared Leto. Now, I will say this. As far as looking like the villain of Masters of the Universe, Skeletor, that looks like Skeletor. He's kind of bluish, purplish looking. He's got a skull for a face and red eyes. The biggest question you have to ask yourself, though, is did we really need to see... Did, like, Jared Leto need to be that? Like... He's just hiding behind a CGI motion capture character. Did we need the performance of Jared Leto for such things? It's like, you know who we should get for this villainous role? Let's get the guy who played Morbius. That's what we need. But then again, it's a Sony movie, so I'm sure he has a multi-picture deal at Sony, and this is one of the movies that he's obligatory needs to star in. So I think it looks fun. You know, it's got like the He-Man vibe to it. They got a guy who actually looks like He-Man. There's only so much you can ask for out of a Masters of the Universe movie, and as long as it's better than the original one with Dolph Lundgren, then I'll check it out. Dustin Rich says Tila looking fine as hell. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Is that her? Right? Wait, is this her? Or are you talking about the tiger? I don't know. It looks cool. Some cool visuals in there, but yeah, it looks like Thor Ragnarok, man. All right. Serious question from Roger says, does anyone even care about He-Man IP in 2026? No one cares about it. No one cares about it. But the thing is, the fact that they're making it a comedy fantasy movie and using some IP that does lend itself to being like a fun visual aspect, like it's just enough. It's like rather than just make an original comedy movie that's in a fantasy land, well, we can throw some He-Man shit in there and have some fun with it. And I'm okay with that. I am. I really am. I'll check it out. It looks like an okay time at the box office, you know? Have I seen the 80s cartoon intro? Yes. But have you seen the CKY video about He-Man? Have you ever seen that? Let's watch that together. CKY video He-Man. He-Man, he gave me AIDS. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's just watch this together. Don't judge me. Let's. If you've never seen this, my apologies. But when I think of Skeletor and He-Man, this is what I think of. Okay. And here we go. All right, I think that's enough of that. That takes me back to 2003, more than you will ever know. Okay. So, those are my thoughts on the He-Man trailer. The new Odyssey trailer dropped. Man, is that the one with Travis Scott in it? Or is it better than the other one? I don't know. I have not seen the new Odyssey trailer. Does it add anything to it? Let's see. Ooh, this is the one with Travis Scott in it. Okay. All right, I can only show so much of this trailer because I will get demonetized. I'm just putting it out there, guys. There's nothing worse than showing 10 seconds of a trailer and then you lose monetization on a 3-hour live stream. It's crazy. All right, let's watch part of this.
Who has a story about Odysseus, huh? You have a story?
Gotta skim through it a little bit. Oh, there's Travis Scott looking all stupid. All Let's see. We saw this shot. Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's a new shot of Troy right there in the background. I like that. Okay.
Let's go home. The Odyssey.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, just a couple more shots that we haven't seen. I like the shot where they're pulling the Trojan horse on the beach. I thought that looked kind of cool. I risked it for you guys. I'm not afraid of anyone. You hear that? You corrupt studio bastards. You think you're going to hold me down and suppress me and my right to fair use and criticism? Not today, not ever. You sons of bitches. All right, let's keep going here. Troy from High School Musical. I think you missed my super. I haven't gotten to it yet, man. I'll read some of the super chats now. Here we go. All right. Wrangler 5246 says, what are your thoughts on the Oscar noms this year? I have not paid much attention to the Oscar noms, and nor do I ever, to be completely honest with you. I'd rather just talk about the winners. I don't really like. You have to understand what the Oscars are, right? It's just a group of people who vote on shit, and half the shit they're voting on they haven't even seen yet. That's what they're doing. That's what's happening. It's just a lot of people in an organization that can vote on shit that they don't even know what they're talking about half the time. And they all vote on the most popular things that they're aware of or things that appease other people. So that's what the Oscars are. So I don't put a lot of like faith or like care into such things. But just for the sake of this conversation, let's dive into it. What do you say? All right, Oscar nominations. Let's just talk about Best Picture. Best Pictures. Okay, here's what we got so far. We got The Secret Agent, Marty Supreme, F1. Are these? Yeah, Best Picture. F1, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Begonia, Train Dreams, Sinners, Hamnet, and Sentimental Value. So, like, if I had to pick some of the movies in there that I gave a shit about, F1's good, but I don't think it's Best Picture of the year. I liked Begonia quite a bit. Sinners, I mean, I liked Sinners a lot. Yeah, it's kind of one of those years where I don't care who wins this because I don't have that much, like, there wasn't one of these movies that I just thought was an A+ movie that deserves to be Best Picture of the year. None of these movies scream that to me. And I liked half of them quite a bit. But, I mean, objectively, I just feel like this isn't the strongest year for movies. But, like, you know, if I had to pick one, I guess Sinners is pretty good. I don't know. What do you guys think about these Oscar nominations for Best Picture? Yeah, I'm surprised F1 got nominated as well. Like, good action movie by all means, but man, it's like not the best movie of the year. Yeah, Sinners, like, listen, okay, I'll say this. When it comes to Sinners, it's basically From Dusk Till Dawn. It took the blueprint of that movie, and then they made another movie. And you can arguably say they made a better version of it if you want. And I think Sinners is like really well crafted. I think the acting is really good. Haley Steinfeld's really good in the movie. Michael B. Jordan plays two characters, and I think that was really good. It was shot on 70 millimeter. I think the way it looks with the film and the scope of it, it looks like an actual movie, and I like all of those things. And then it turns into a vampire movie, and then they talk about music and the lore of where blues originated from, and then it's over. So it's okay. I liked it. I don't know. I don't know if it's my favorite movie of the year, but then again, it's hard for me to pick a favorite movie of the year. So I don't know. Kind of a weak lineup for me. I am glad that Wicked Part 2 didn't get any nominations, though. Rightfully so. And with all that said, I have 2 new 4K movies that were sent to me over the last couple weeks that I'd like to talk about right now. So here it goes. Here's a very impromptu Blu-ray collection update segment of the live show. These are the 2 new movies I got. Now let's talk about Wicked, the movie that wasn't nominated for any Academy Awards this year, and honestly, rightfully so. Like the first one, I thought when it comes to a musical was good. I like some of the musical numbers in the first movie, like Defying Gravity, I think is great. But in the second part of this, and it's much like the play. The first part of the play is great. The second part, not so much. I just wasn't a big fan of this movie whatsoever. Even my wife, who's a hardcore fan, like kind of agrees like the second movie's not that great, but I own it on 4K. So here's this. Now I'm going to keep this because my wife likes the movies, so I will keep this for her. All right. But the next movie I got, which was also nominated for an Academy Award, Best Picture of the Year, was One Battle After Another. Now, when it comes to Paul Thomas Anderson, I'm a huge fan. I don't love all of his movies, nor will I claim to sound like I'm some kind of pseudo-intellectual film critic. No. But I am a dude who really appreciates movies like Boogie Nights or There Will Be Blood. Those are my 2 favorite Paul Thomas Anderson flicks of all time. One's about a porn star that has a big dong played by Mark Wahlberg, and the other one's about the oil industry and a dude who's driven for success in the 1800s. Okay, that's how my brain works. But when it comes to One Battle After Another, I did like some of it, but I didn't love this movie as much as I feel like most of the people on the internet did. Do I think it could be nominated for one of the best pictures of the year? Yeah, I think it should be in the nominations. My favorite performance in this movie was obviously Leonardo DiCaprio. I thought he just stole the entire movie. And I like when he plays his character when he's a bit older and he's become a recluse and he's really paranoid. And he's just the most comical shit. He gave me like kooky dad vibes when he got older. His character got older in this movie. And I like that. He's just in his pajamas, hiding inside of his house. I thought that was brilliant. And there's one important aspect that he can't remember, and that's a password that he needs, and he just can't remember the password. I liked the movie. I thought there was some really good direction in it. Like there's a great car chase sequence at the end of the film that gave me like Alfred Hitchcock vibes, where you get a POV shot of the camera going over the hills, and it's really unsettling. And had like a film noir vibe to it. I liked all that. But a lot of other aspects of the movie, I just like, I didn't necessarily love enough to go back and revisit it. Though at some point I should check it out again on 4K. So I liked it. I just didn't love this movie. So it's not like my number 1 movie of the year. I don't even think it's in my top like 10. It might be number 10. Maybe not. So those are my thoughts. Bob Ferguson was trying to save his daughter the whole movie, iconic name. Yeah, no, I liked the concept of it. I guess I just didn't care about his daughter, and I just didn't care about any of the other characters in the movie. Like Colonel Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn. Like, there was aspects about his character I liked, but it just, I don't know. I couldn't. The humor sometimes worked and sometimes it just didn't. And sometimes the story worked and then sometimes I didn't care. And I thought there were some opportunities in the film where I was like, oh, I hope they explore that. And then they abruptly just would stop exploring it. And I'm like, oh. So it's kind of a hit or miss movie for me. It was definitely a mid-year for movies. I agree with you. John, would you like to see another Alien versus Predator movie? What would the story be in the film? I have no I don't know, man. I could not tell you. As long as the aliens fight the Predators and it's cool and well shot, I guess that's all we can ask for. I'm not quite sure. But I would like to see more Alien movies. The biggest disservice to the whole Alien franchise is like we got the movie Prometheus. And I thought Prometheus could have been so much more than it was. There were so many interesting concepts they could have explored with the engineers and the space jockeys. And like, they sort of like gave you the surface level version of all of it, but without giving you what you actually wanted to see. I enjoyed Predator Badlands quite a bit. I liked it too, man. I just think it's my biggest complaint with it. I did like it. I think it's an entertaining movie, but it just has this like Disney-fied glossiness to it. And it felt like Mandalorian meets The Predator. And I want something that feels a little more like the 1980s Predator movie. I would just want a little more R-ratedness to it. That's all I'm saying. Just give me a little more grit. That's all I want. Bring Arnold back. Come on. I know he had a cameo in the animated movie, but I want live action. Okay. The next one comes from Daniel Green, who says, my favorite comment from your channel is when you always said Master of Puppets would be a great song choice for an action scene. Whenever it played in Stranger Things Season 4 finale, my ass clenched like it did before my uncle went to jail. That's a good one, man. I like that. But I don't like it as much as your uncle probably did, huh? Anyway. No, thank you for that comment. Yeah, so as a guy who loves Metallica and Master of Puppets, and I have given that answer quite a bit as like one of my favorite songs that should be in an action scene. When they started playing Master of Puppets, when Eddie was on top of, let's just watch it for a minute. What are we doing? I have the power of the internet.
Copy that. Initiating phase 3.
We'll play just a tidbit here. Yeah, super badass. One of my favorite metal songs of all time. And like when this showed up in Stranger Things for Eddie's epic send-off, playing this on top of his trailer, I was like, that was the perfect song choice. Because keep in mind, at the time period that this scene takes place in, I think it takes place in March of 1986 or 1987. It's 1986. And this song had just come out like 2 months before this. So the fact that Eddie somehow learned Master of Puppets on the guitar within like 2 months of the song being released, I think is really interesting in itself. But man, what a great scene. Let's get to the end here, though. Yeah, man, that's pure badass. So yeah, if ever that song, that scene was fulfilling for the song that they chose. I'll leave it there. Probably one of my favorite sequences in Stranger Things. So yeah, thanks for reminding me about that, though. All right, let's keep going here. I'm going to answer just a few more questions, and then we will wrap up this episode of the live show tonight. We've been talking 2 hours and 20 minutes, so I think we had some quality time together. All right, it's not about quantity; it's about quality. Remember that. Joe Quinn actually learned the guitar and played it for that scene. Did he? I did not know that. John, would you rather be killed by an alien, a predator, or a Terminator? Probably not the alien, man, because they're going to spit acid in my face and like put eggs inside of me and shit. Nah. The predator, I might have a little more dignity. I mean, sure, they're going to rip my skull from my spine and hold it over their head like a trophy, but also kind of a cool way to go out, just putting it out there, right? But the Terminator, what are they going to do? Just shoot me? Or, but then again, if the T-1000 could turn his hand into like a liquid metal butter knife and stab me in the heart, that'd be kind of a cool way to go too. So I think the most dignified way to go would be from the Terminator. But my second choice would be the Predator. Do you have a favorite Arnold film, John? Well, speaking of the Terminator, I'm going to go with, obviously, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. That is my favorite Arnold movie of all time. You got him playing a badass T-800 cybernetic organism, but he also has some of the humor and some of the levity. Perfect. My next choice is Jingle All the Way. I'm kidding. Okay, Skylar Wheelock says, what are the most aesthetically pleasing sci-fi movies of all time? My picks are Gattaca and Interstellar. Yeah, Gattaca I have not seen in a long time. I remember the way it looks. It doesn't scream to me though for like aesthetically pleasing. It is very clean and the aesthetics are good, I guess. Interstellar, when they're any shot in space, when it comes to Interstellar, I think it looks beautiful. Like every shot of Interstellar in space could be a wallpaper that I would put on my ultra wide monitor and be okay with. And I think at one point I did have a shot of it on there. I think it was the black hole with the spaceship in front of it. But like there's so many sci-fi movies, man. Like I would say there's shots in Terminator 2 Judgment Day that look beautiful. Let's see. Like, dude, I think this shot right here of Arnold and little John Connor in the motor, I think that looks like a nice shot. I don't know. Or the shot where he's getting dipped into melting steel looks really good. I mean, look at that look at that. Does anything scream sci-fi more than a fucking T-100 endoskeleton holding a giant gun in front of an explosion? That's a nice shot. So, all right. Yo, saw you from 3C in the chat. You about to side quest and appear on John Campia's new segment. I don't know what John Campia's new segment is. I'm sorry. Can someone inform me what it is? I did watch part of Chris Parker, his 3C Films live show earlier today. I watched probably like, I don't know, 10 minutes of it. I was eating and I was getting ready for my live show. And I was like, oh, I'll watch him talk about movies for 10 minutes. But I don't know what this new segment of John Campia's is. Can someone enlighten me? I wish Nathan Fillion could have played Green Lantern when he was younger. Yeah. I love how Empire Strikes Back looks. Oh, dude, yeah. Okay, so yeah, obviously Star Wars movies, there's some beautiful sequences, especially Empire. Like when they go to Sky City in Empire Strikes Back, man, that entire sequence looks beautiful. Doesn't Rich says Scarlett Johansson is the only reason you like The Island. You know it's true. It's part of the many of reasons I like it, but then I like it for Michael Clark Duncan. So there's that. Probably one of the most underrated Michael Bay movies people should watch. Oh, he talks with other YouTubers? Oh, cool. What would be the benefit of going on it? I don't know. Hey, John, my name's John too. Do you want to talk about the newest comic book movie? Okay, let's do it. Well, for our next main topic, now first, let me preface with this. Yeah. And then he just kicks me off of it and deletes me and blocks me. Genuine thoughts on Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair. That's if you've watched it. I have not watched it. I never got a chance to see it in theaters. If it hits streaming at some point, I will give it a revisit. Unpopular opinion. The Kill Bill movies, I wouldn't say I don't dislike them. I do like them. But when it comes to Quentin Tarantino movies, they're not my favorite. I know. They're just like not my favorite Tarantino movies. I'd much rather watch something like Pulp Fiction or Hateful Eight or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Reservoir Dogs. Arnold got $30 million to do Terminator 3. He gave Warner Brothers $1 million of his salary for the action chase sequence in the beginning because Warner Brothers didn't want to continue filming it because they went over budget. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. The chase sequence in the movie with the large crane, they basically just like didn't want that scene to exist because it cost too much money. And I'm just like, so you're going to make a Terminator movie and you're going to cheap out on the action scenes. I feel like you're missing the point here. Cloud City, not Sky City. I'm so sorry. After 3 hours of talking without a script or any show notes about movies and other topics and being witty and informative along the way, I misspoke. I will never allow it to happen again until it happens next time. I'm sorry for that mistake. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is why AI is going to take over one day. The Crazy 88 fight is one of the best fight scenes ever. No, it's a really cool sequence, man. It's bloody, it's gory, it's awesome. But I just the story of it, I've never been that compelled by it. Couldn't agree more about Tarantino movies. Yeah, it's just like, I like the other types of movies. I like the ones that aren't just like satire kung fu movies. You know, call me crazy. Oh, I am ashamed of myself, but not for that. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up the live show right there, but I do want to say, hey, thanks for hanging out with me on this cold, blizzardy Sunday night. I'm going to go take a shower and maybe eat some Gushers or something, and then I'm going to watch A Night of Seven Kingdoms, all 32 minutes of it. It's just enough time not to be able to get immersed into something. It's like, what is this, a Saturday morning cartoon? Come on now. John is bringing on other YouTubers for segments. I remember him donating to the channel, but that's crazy. People would collab, then block you after. No, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll look into it. I'll talk to John Campia. I don't mind. Maybe I'll look into it. I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll chime in, but it's actually not a bad idea. It's kind of cool. It's not a bad idea. I mean, listen, I would like to have different YouTubers show up on my live shows to talk about movies for a little bit. Maybe not the entire show, but for like 30 minutes. I think that'd be a fun segment. You missed the show. Well, hey, no worries, man. You can scroll back and watch the entire thing on replay. John, I need dating advice. Keep swiping on Tinder, say yes to everything and no to nothing. Eventually, something will arise from it. Just be safe. Okay, with all that said, guys, I'm going to leave off the live show right there, but I do want to say thanks to all of you guys watching tonight. It's been a fun time. As always, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time with a brand new live show sooner than later. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and by the way, we still do need to talk about most anticipated movies of 2026 and my top 10 worst and best movies of the year. So we'll do those at some point. There's just been too many movies to talk about. But it looks like for the next 2 weeks, there's nothing but shitty movies coming out for the most part. So we'll get there. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for watching. Thanks for looking at my stupid face. And I will see you guys next week with a brand new live show. All right, take care. Bye-bye.